The House has resumed. The House is considering the third reading of the Appropriation 2011-12 Estimates Bill and the second reading of the Imprest Supply, second for 2011-12 Bill. When the House rose for dinner, Jonathan Young had the call. His call has just started, so he has just under 10 minutes remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jonathan Young.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to speak on the Appropriation Estimates Bill and the Imprest Supply, second reading. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by congratulating first Bill English for his good, firm, steady, long-sighted stewardship of the New Zealand economy. I think that this is what this debate is about recognising the stability that the national-led government has brought to this country. The second person that I'd like to congratulate tonight, Mr. Speaker, is Colin Cooper, the coach of Tandem Taranaki, who last night led our team to a great win after trailing 26 at half-time, coming through to a 39-33 win. And I think I raise that, Mr. Speaker, because Taranaki is typical of what the national government can do. We can come from behind to win against the odds. That is what we have done with the economy, Mr. Speaker. Labor left us in a losing position and we turned it around, and we, Mr. Speaker, have brought stability during a time when we would say that the world is still in the, I would say, the ramifications and reverberations of debt crisis. Mr. Speaker, this budget that we are speaking about addresses the issue of reducing debt. It's very important, Mr. Speaker, to see that this government is led by sound and sensible people who have presented what I believe the New Zealand public are acknowledging as sound and sensible policies. Because of global uncertainty, New Zealand needs more than ever these sound and sensible policies led by solid leaders. New Zealand's not immune to what's happening around the world. We trade with the rest of the world. And if the world slows down, yes, it will have an impact on us. So being able to foresee those and make adjustments, being able to continue to trade with countries overseas such as Australia, being our largest market, and China, now our second largest market, is very important for the future prosperity and security of this country and for the jobs that we are seeing more and more come into the marketplace. We still have flexibility in our economy that a lot of other countries don't have. In theory, there's room for the Reserve Bank to cut interest rates if necessary. Our exchange rate is still relatively high, so again, the opportunity for that to ease back if we see global commodity prices coming back. So we have some headroom. And all of that is because of the result of our efforts over the last 3 years to see New Zealand placed in a far better position than many other countries to manage what will remain an uncertain global environment for a number of years ahead. Mr. Speaker, these comments that I have made are not what people would think just biased comments from a member of the national-led government and the National Party. Because media reports and companies like, for example, Fairfax, who would pride themselves on being unbiased, they would say that the New Zealanders are recognising the solid leadership this government has brought in such difficult global times. 85% of voters view the state of the economy as either important or very important in deciding their vote. We understand that, we know that. Furthermore, Fairfax Media Research International polls show that 49% of voters think National has the best plan to fix the economy, well ahead of Labor on 17%. So less than 2 out of 10 have any confidence in Labor's plans. You know what is really outstanding, or astounding, can I say, is that only 48% of Labor's supporters back their plan to fix the economy. we didn't know they had supporters. That is a crisis in the camp, without a doubt. Among national voters, no, this is the plan that the Fairfax media are perceiving or hearing from you, and they are saying that half of your voters, half of your supporters don't have confidence. Among national voters, and on the other hand, thank you, Mr Nash, among national voters, 81% support our party's economic plan. Mr Speaker, well, as a comparison, 48% of your voters don't have confidence in yours. Do the maths. Mr Speaker, I was brought up to believe that you only borrowed for assets and never consumption. We have come through a decade where many people have borrowed for consumption. Mr Speaker, the balance to this is that when a country goes into recession, what this government has done is continue to borrow in order to take off the sharp edges of the recession for New Zealand families as they go through very difficult times. But whatever we borrow, we have to pay back with interest. So we know that level of borrowing is simply a ticking time bomb. The reason why we went into recession, Mr Speaker, was poor management and excessive spending in unproductive areas of our economy. In 2007, budget papers of the previous Labor government released under the Official Information Act on Treasury's website show that Labor government ministers were well aware that their spending was contributing to higher interest rates and higher exchange rates. Treasury warned them that they needed to stay as close as possible to their previously agreed spending limit in the budget, otherwise they would risk an interest rate response from the Reserve Bank and the exchange rate staying higher for longer and a more pronounced economic slowdown. Those same papers, Mr Speaker, show that Dr Cullen and his cabinet colleagues signed off on an overspend of some 50% more, almost $4 billion in total, than the limit they had agreed among themselves only a few months earlier, in the full knowledge that this would place pressure on householders and exporters. And I think it's very rich, Mr Speaker, that they would stand there and criticise when they have done such a poor effort in managing the economy. Mr Speaker, when National became the government, in November 2008, we know that we inherited a decade of deficits, falling economic growth, unemployment that was already rising, high inflation, as I have just noted, caused by high government spending, a rising current account deficit, annual productivity growth of 1.1% between 2000 and 2008, deteriorating fiscal deficits, sharply rising Crown debt, floating mortgage rates almost 11% in June 2008. Currently, they are less than 6%. Finance companies collapsing left, right and centre, and economy on two negative credit watches. Mr Speaker, per capita GDP had stalled since 2004. This is what we inherited. This is what happened. The tradable side of the economy peaked in 2004 and had been shrinking ever since. Export growth was just 1/3 of previous levels. And these are the people who want to run the economy again. I think, Mr Speaker, that New Zealanders are very, very happy with the leadership of John Key and Bill English as Minister of Finance. They are doing a fantastic job bringing stability in difficult times, bringing growth. We are seeing jobs beginning to be created in this environment. Mr Speaker, I believe that we have the right principles in place and that we will continue to see our economy grow and prosper. New Zealanders have good jobs and earn good money. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Stuart Nash.